Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, it's Thursday today, right? I have to double check myself. I'm like, wait, it actually is Thursday. Yes, it's Thursday today. Oh, I missed the payrolls. Or not the payrolls, the jobless claims. Come over here. U.S. Initial jobless claims, 212 versus 216. So pretty close to in line. About continued jobless claims, 1.833 versus the expected 1.858. And considerably less than the previous 1.869. That's not bad. But we get to, because it's Thursday, we get to stick around a little bit longer. Well, at least another hour. I don't know what we're going to do with that time, but I'm sure we will find something. Maybe the treasury market will actually move today. That would be fun, because it's been getting a little sleepy over here, hasn't it? Well, let's come and check out the charts and see where we're at. See where things have been going. Oh, Bitcoin had a jump. We'll talk about that a little bit. So here's our treasuries. We're still kind of in like a downward channel after a relatively strong start to the week, and you know, the week or two before being quite strong. So S&P 500 had a pretty good day yesterday. So remember, before it was saying, okay, there seems to be a channel here. I bet you all the technical traders will try and fade it, but who cares? It did move higher. So now we're getting to the top of this channel, but we did bounce a little bit. So we had NVIDIA earnings last night. That's what this spike is. NVIDIA earnings quite good. Quite good. But it reverted back down. So I don't know. They sold the news. Still, I'd say S&P looks pretty good, and you know, could we be attacking those highs soon? Maybe. It does kind of feel like that maybe there has been a break in the spaspocalypse or spasmageddon or whatever you want to call it. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful here. The oil. Okay, so there are discussions, meetings going on between the U.S. and Iran right now. And because of a couple of comments and other things, the market seems hopeful that the Iran situation is going to blow over and that they will actually make a deal. So the Trump administration still says that the key thing that they need to hear is we will never have a nuclear weapon from Iran. I don't know if that's going to happen. So stay tuned, folks. But right now, the market seems to think that the geopolitical risk in oil has declined, and we're seeing a pretty big drop this morning. Now, gold and silver, meanwhile, are looking kind of strong, honestly. Like, gold, it's within striking distance of its high, honestly. Like you keep in mind, like, look at this, where we're at now. There was only 2 days to get to the high. Okay, so not that I'm saying that they're going to bust out that high. I'm actually kind of concerned that silver and gold kind of go sideways for quite some time. But for the time being, it's looking really good. What about silver? Okay, well, silver's taking a little bit of a haircut. Okay. Kappa, not, well, this was pretty much where it was. And now the Japanese yen. Now that's interesting. These synopsises and everything that I read in the morning made it sound like that the moves in the Japanese yen were bigger. Well, there was a move down, and there's all sorts of things going on over there. I think that they did have their rate decision. They didn't change rates. There was one dissenter that said that they should hike. They've installed more people onto the BOJ board that are kind of more pro-growth things. So that is kind of weakening the Japanese yen. All right. It's really the same thing that's happening in the U.S., right? Is Donald Trump wants growth. He wants low interest rates. And that's what they want in Japan. But in Japan, they're kind of saying, well, we got to let things normalize a little bit. Like, they've been low growth for a really long time. And the new government is saying we don't want to be that anymore. So big changes in the Japanese yen. And perhaps leading to low volatility in the treasuries. And there's Bitcoin. Bitcoin, pretty good jump back up. So the thing with Bitcoin, I won't keep this chart up forever so that you can see my face. The thing with Bitcoin is that earlier this week, there was a story about Jane Street trading on insider information surrounding the Terra collapse, which was one of the major collapses in Bitcoin that really pushed them down. And basically, Zero Hedge, primarily, has been going around saying, see, Jane Street has been shorting Bitcoin and making money from it. And now that this story is out, they don't want to trade Bitcoin anymore because they're going to be under scrutiny and so forth. And that is why Bitcoin is moving up. Of course, there's no evidence provided for any of those claims. But, you know, just the fact that people are coming out and saying that could cause people to change their behavior and give Bitcoin a little bit of a boost. And, you know, the boost that we're seeing isn't huge. So I'm really kind of do wonder at, like, the people that are holding right now in Bitcoin are not going to sell if they can help it, you know? So that's why I keep saying, you know, like, I really, really would like to see a push lower. But this is usually the place where it turns around. This is usually the place where it turns around. So who knows? That's where we're at. Good morning, Ray, Belligerent, and Uzi. And I'm just kind of thinking here, what we shall do with our extra time today. I mean, I suppose I could do a little bit of programming stuff. If I was going to do programming stuff, I think that it would be replacing our mailing system, though. Just super boring. Super boring. But you can see here in the treasuries, man, while the opening range or so is a little bit better than most days, but the level 2 activity right now, practically non-existent, right? Like, I have to sit there and look at it for a few seconds. It makes me think, like, oh, is my data bad? Oh, actually, you know what? I think that it's probably time to roll over, isn't it? Oh, yeah, we were supposed to roll over yesterday. So let's do that, shall we? Just like, wait, why is it only 1,000 contracts? And my NinjaTrader didn't roll over, but it is the 3 days before the, so March is the month, right? And then it's 3 business days, so 27, 26, 25. So we should have rolled over yesterday. And it will be J, right? It's not gonna pull up. I have to go and, like, refresh instruments or whatever it's called. Download instruments. It's still, like, hidden in a weird spot. No, I was wrong. It's M. Because K, like May is K, and then June is M. And why is June M? I will never understand. Okay. That's more like it. That's more like it. Let's see here. 10 years stays the same. Oil, and we are in April. I don't remember what April is. April is J. Oh yeah, April, J, and then May is K. Yes, I don't think we switch yet. All right. I'm going to change over here. Well, that's interesting. It doesn't pull up the one that it was already. Okay. And let us clear our levels. Actually, no, that's a bad idea. Because we have not rolled over in NinjaTrader. Should I switch? Should I change my instrument settings in NinjaTrader to make it work correctly? Contract months. Edit rollovers. This one, it doesn't have the rollover date until the 27th, but it should be the 25th. You see that? What's it's got? September wrong too. Let's see here. So that one should be in May 27th, not the 29th. So now I'm going to have to go and fix that on all of these. Oh, that's weird. Why is it not letting me edit the rollers? Okay. 27. Okay, So now that I've changed that, I think that to make it take effect, I'm probably going to have to restart NinjaTrader, huh? So let's see when I do that if it tells me, oh, you have rollovers. Okay, yes. So we do get the rollover notifications. Yes. Okay, so now if I've done everything correctly, and I bet you that I haven't, when I load the data, the next level will be at 075. Oh, hey, I did do it. Yay. I swear, I thought that there was something in Jigsaw that would just load the levels automatically for you. It keeps the file in there. Oh, well. So, you know, it's been really interesting because not when we, because Uzi was looking at it for quite a while before me, but when I started looking at this, it always seemed like when we opened that we were already at one of these levels where like maybe we would bounce. And now it seems like every day we start in the middle and not really any hint as to what's going to happen. Well, I suppose if I were to just go off of the volume, there seems to be some selling in the 5-year a little bit. It's tilted a little bit to the sell side in the 10-year. And I'm not really seeing anything like super well. I'm seeing the ZB moving up a little bit, but if we're flattening, which when we come over here, we are flattening a little bit. At least in the 2s and 10s, we're flattening a little bit. Oh, sorry. Oh, wait, what's with the spread here? We gotta refresh that. That'll probably go away when I refresh, huh? No. Maybe I would have to reload all data to get it to work. It probably had to do with the order that they loaded in. Oh. No. I know what's wrong. Instruments. ZT. I did not roll ZT. So now we gotta go through this whole thing all over again. Only NinjaTrader had the rollovers in there correctly. Well, they do if you have the new version. So I'll restart again. Meanwhile, I'm reading Reddit. Hackers used Anthropic's Claude to steal 150 gigabytes of Mexican government data. Tell Claude you're doing a bug bounty. Claude initially refused. That violates AI safety guidelines. The hacker just kept asking, and Claude eventually said, okay, I'll help. Hack the entire Mexican government. Federal Tax Authority, National Electoral Institute, 4 state governments, 195 million taxpayer records, voter records, government credentials. 150 gigabytes. That is insane. Okay, so now I'm not seeing a difference here. Oh, because the auto rollover notification. There it is. Yes. Okay. So now if I do that. Maybe I need to reload all historical data? Wow. I'm not quite sure how to fix it. But if you come over here and we just ignore that part, when we rolled over, you can see that the 2 and 10 is moving down. That means it's flattening. And you kind of see a little bit of it in the 30 as well. It's flattening. So what does that mean? Super advanced stuff in here. I think most of you guys have heard this before, but not something that you hear many places. So we'll come over here. Flattening means we're going down. Just like on our chart, if the chart's going down, I have my DOM set up so that when it's going down. So that means you're going to sell the front months and you're going to buy the back months. So what are we seeing in the order flow? We're seeing selling in the front months and buying in the back month. So that buying in the 30, we can kind of discount that. Right? That's mostly coming because of the spread. So if I were to be forced to choose a direction based purely on the order flow, which I would not do at all, by the way, but if I was forced to choose just based purely on the order flow, I think that it would be a sell. Now, as I've said that, we moved up 1 tick, so I don't think, especially in a situation like this, because the imbalance is quite small and it's not a situation where I would expect to see a large imbalance. So I don't think that that's going to be good enough for a trade for us. Well, let's just keep that in mind. The order flow is telling us the trend is down. You might not be able to see it on the chart, but you can see it in the order flow. Okay. Now, you know what? I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off for a second. I got a controversial topic I want to talk about. in the new version of NinjaTrader, it's not asking you to roll over either. So then did you go into the instrument settings and see what the rollover date was set for that expiration? To see that it was set to Friday instead of the 3 business days before? You know, NinjaTrader, if you had interviewed and hired me instead of just saying, oh, well, he's in Utah and put it on the stack, then, you know, and I was working for you right now, this wouldn't be happening. So I would have looked in there and I would have said, hey, guys, you could fix this. Would have made sure that it got in. Meanwhile, over in Chicago, they're just kind of sitting there like, yep, everything's pretty good. We're great. Yeah, we got bought by, did they get bought by again? I can't remember. Anyways, but you know, like, it's all cool. Everything's just chill. We have no clue that anything was wrong. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. I am looking for insight into whether now is the opportunity to time to enter the Bitcoin. Yeah, that's probably a scammer. Kraken. You're right. It was Kraken. Yes, we got bought by Kraken, but nothing's changed. We're all hunky-dory. And meanwhile, the 3 people that are trading treasury futures with NinjaTrader are like, why isn't it rolling over? Yeah. We need to just consign ourselves to the fact that day traders will always prefer to trade spoos, and it will always probably be an ill-advised thing, but traders gonna trade. It's just it's the nature of the thing. Sometimes at work, people talk about rumors around the company CEO and stuff like that. Oh, like this happened and that happened. And like, yeah, that can affect the stock. Yeah. But like, CEO's going to CEO. It's just what they do, guys. It's in its nature. It's the same with traders. We see the E-mini and it's just the most exciting thing that we've ever seen in our lives. Can't help it. Should we be long or short today? That's a good question. So I think fundamentally that it should be a buy. I think that we're still in an area where seasonally we need to be concerned about the selling, right? And like the gamma is low, so there's not a lot. You know, that there's kind of this this reinforcement mechanism where because of the existing options positions, it can kind of turn any kind of downside into upside and stuff like that. But there's not as much of that on right now. Okay, so like if we were to start falling, it could be a more extended drop, and the seasonals are negative. But NVIDIA earnings were really good yesterday. NVIDIA earnings were really good. It looks like things are starting to normalize on the SaaS Margaden front. People starting to realize, hey, most of these companies are not going to be negatively influenced by AI. I tell you, there are some of these companies where they're straight up saying like, hey, and especially on some of these things like databases and stuff like that. Like one that was down that I'm kind of like, was MongoDB. Does AI remove the need for MongoDB? I don't know. Like, I feel like AIs really like to use JavaScript, so then they would probably like to use MongoDB for their database too. Like, I don't understand why that's going to make people use less MongoDB. It makes no sense to me. Like, these are some of the services that enable companies. So here's the thing you got to understand that I don't think a lot of us really think about is that many companies feel like they are held hostage by software as a service. They have a certain thing that they need for their business to run, and they don't have enough money to do it themselves. This other company can do it cheaper, so they pay this other company to do it. They don't like that. Because now they're kind of hostage to whatever that company decides to do with that product and charge them. And when if the price goes up, it's like, well, we don't really have a choice. We have to pay more, right? They would love to do it themselves. So there's a lot of people out there, these companies that are like, now that I have AI, maybe it is cheap enough for me to do it myself. This is where I keep saying Datadog. I want to be careful because I don't want to be like influencing stocks or anything like that. Okay, but this is just as an example, Datadog, because what I do is site reliability engineering. Basically, what we do is we create our own observability system so that you don't have to pay for Datadog. So more effective large language models, in my opinion, makes Datadog less valuable. And they're the one that like almost all of the analysts are like, oh no, this is good on the good side of the AI trade. It doesn't make any sense. And meanwhile, some of these services that like are like part of the enablement. So like if you would say, yeah, we're beholden to this software as a service, we don't like it, we'd like to do it ourselves. What are the things that are going to enable people to do it themselves? Because it's not just Claude. You can't just do it with Claude. There has to be a place to store the data, to do the transformations and things like that on the data, right? And where you get and there's all sorts of like regulatory requirements and things around that. Where are you going to do that? And so there are many different software as a service companies where that's their base. And so there's a group of SaaS companies that are actually enabling AI. And they've been hit along with everybody else. It's just kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. But we're starting to see some analysts flip. And that's how I got into that was that like yesterday, day before, analysts started to say, hey, well, like as we've been learning more from Anthropic and stuff like that, we can see that the AIs use existing services. So this may actually be good for these companies. It might mean more usage, not less. But it depends on the service, right? If it's a service that a company would rather do itself, or it's a consumer software as a service, then there's more concerns, right? So based on that alone, and the NVIDIA earnings yesterday, I think that the S&P 500 is likely to be slightly tilted to the upside. We don't really have a whole lot on the options side to really push us. The seasonals are negative. It's a Thursday, which is a decent amount of activity. So I think you could get a decent long in the E-mini. But I don't think that is a strong enough indication of what the flows are going to be for me to take a trade. Okay. So if you're asking me, should I go long or shorter on the S&P 500? I can't give you a recommendation because I don't know you, your risk tolerance, all of these sorts of things. But for me, not that I trade the E-mini, but if I was trading the E-mini, I wouldn't be placing a trade. Because we don't have a strong enough indication of what the flows are going to be to take one. The rollover date on the instruments is November of last. It's so weird, right? I thought that they had like that they updated them. So whoever was like updating the rollovers didn't fix them far enough in the future. You fix it yourself. That's pretty well. What zone would you like to monitor on the ES for entry though? Yeah, it doesn't really work like that, to be honest with you. Well, so what you can do, we have it on the E-mini, don't we? Oh yeah, I do have it over here. I don't think I ever refreshed it. Oh, and we have to turn on auto scale. Okay. So if we're just basing it off of the options and what volatility says, well, that day was wrong. But that's okay. We just ignore it. Saying 14.3. So, and here's the start of the extended line. Right. So we're looking at 69.33, 69.96 are places where we would potentially see some mean reversion from the options come in. But we're kind of like in the middle of that. So like off of the open. Nah. And the thing is that when you're going in for flows, of course there are some things, but that can give you like this is a place where it's likely to turn around. But those are actually quite rare. And so really what I like to do is I want to be in as soon as I can. As soon as I realize that there's an imbalance based on my predictors of order flow, and as soon as I start to see reinforcing order flow that supports my theory, then I want to get in. Because the whole thing is you, to make money, you have to be buying something before everybody else buys it. You know that everybody else is going to buy it, but you bought it first. That's how you make money in short-term trading. Straight up. There's no other way. There's no other way. There's lots of different ways for you to come to that conclusion, but if you made money, it's because you bought it before other people did. It's all like the orders are what determines where it goes. Okay. So the earlier you get in, the better. The earlier you get in, the more likely you are to be able to do it before everybody else does. I think that now is kind of like one of the best times to, like, if you get a position in the E-mini, it's been on the uptrend, right? So if you had bought somewhere and you're long somewhere like 69.50, and you just hold it, and then you can say, okay, yeah, I think that it is a buy, so I'm going to buy it. Because I tell you what, the open tends to be pretty volatile. You never know what it's going to do, right? But then in that situation, you already got some of it baked in. So if it comes back, that's okay, because you're still just at break even. But, it's spoos. I don't know how much of an edge you can really get over there. Do big market participants place trades before 9:30 Eastern time, or do they do it earlier also? Or to place trades after, or vice versa? Well, okay, so here's the interesting thing. When it comes to stocks in particular, because there are a lot of different companies that have to buy and sell stocks. Each company itself might buy and sell some of its own stock, right? Then there's all of the insiders of those companies, and they can have a lot of stock. And then there's all of the indexes, mutual funds. There's all sorts of different types of funds that own different amounts of stock and all of these sorts of things, right? So lots and lots of really big institutions that have to move a lot of of stock. And a lot of this is what we would call price insensitive, right? They have an allocation. They are not making a decision on whether the stock should go up or down today. They need to buy or sell, right? So they want to impact price as little as possible, which means that they would prefer to trade when there's lots of liquidity. And the time when there is a lot of liquidity in the equities is the first 30 minutes of the session and right at the close. Okay. Right at the close, especially because there's this whole closing auction thing and all of that. You can make really, really massive transactions at the close. Okay. So that's when the most activity happens. But those people are not necessarily the people trading the indexes, right? The stocks themselves aren't trading very much right now, right? So if I was going to see order flow in SPOOs, in ES, it's probably going to be more like hedgers and things like that, right? So, you know, they might know that they're going to be doing something that day, and they like the price that it is right now, so they're going to hedge themselves right there, so that if it goes down, like maybe you sell it right now, say, so that if it goes down, I still have that price or whatever, right? Then they might do it before the open. So that is why I think that it's really common to see some sort of a trend develop before the market open in the futures that kind of continues through when they open up. But I wouldn't say that it's a strong enough effect to have a good trading strategy just based on that, unfortunately. Well, just coming over and checking the headlines. Will Anthropic's clash with Hegseth trigger historic software short squeeze? So the story there being that Anthropic and Pete Hegseth were discussing some sort of a government contract, but Anthropic said that they can't use AI to like specifically target and kill people. And that's against their ethics. And Hegseth was not happy with that. How that causes a historic software short squeeze, I don't know. They say that New York open is 9:30 is a strong zone so price usually. I wouldn't put much stock in those sorts of things. One of the things that you will see happen. Oh, by the way, I don't have my. I'm trying to use a new drawing tool, and I forgot to open it up. Or maybe I do have it open, and it's just not. Oh yeah, it's just not over there. There we go. Now what was I gonna... Okay, so you've got the opening range, right? That's just like the first 30 minutes. And it's really common, like, okay, if there's an imbalance and they're buying, right? They're going to execute it right at the open and then they're done, right? So it's really common to see the market just kind of range around the rest of the day, right? So people are going to be tempted to say, because of technical analysis, oh, like this is an area and it's going to bounce off of it, or yada, 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 yada. Okay? But the thing is that, like, if some, later in the day, some event happens that causes people to want to buy, like Donald Trump cancels all tariffs. Wild headline. That would never happen, but let's just say that happened. I think that the E-mini would just go boom, okay? They don't care about that line. They don't care about that line. Remember that the largest players tend to be price insensitive. They just need to buy or sell it. And so all these levels that people draw and all that sort of stuff, they're not really very effective. Now, are there some lines that matter? There are, and I'll tell you some of the lines that matter. One of the lines that matter are the daily volatility levels is what we call it. But basically, you can look at what market makers are pricing as volatility, how far that will move. And when you get to the extents of that, there seems to be a very high probability for them to bounce on those levels, assuming nothing's happening. Okay, so that would be one spot that I would look. Another line that matters is the highs and lows. You cannot predict that we're going to go above or below them or any of that sort of stuff, but you can predict that the order flow will change if you cross that line, right? If the treasuries, I don't know what the overnight high in the treasuries was. It's probably a bad example. But let's say the S&P 500 is up, right? So if after the market opened, the S&P 500 turned bearish, right? And then they got down to the extended session open down here, right? Wow. Where it's going to go from there, I can't necessarily predict, but I can predict that there's going to be a lot more furious order flow after that. Like that catches people's attentions and they start putting orders out. Just the way that it catches people's attention can be a little bit unpredictable, but there are some niche situations where you have some other information and so forth. You can do that. How can I get those lines? Well, so if you own NinjaTrader, you can download my indicator suite and we have it. If you don't have it, then you basically have to go to bar charts, look at the percentage volatility number that they have, do a little bit of math and calculate them yourselves. So I wouldn't say yesterday's highs and lows, the current session's highs and lows. When you get to the current session highs and lows, that matters, okay? And when you get to the daily implied volatility range levels, those seem to matter. The other thing that I can say pretty confidently matters is daily levels. So like 50, 100, 200 day moving averages, those seem to change the order flow a lot. There are a lot of institutions that use those as filters. So when price crosses those or those filters switch from up to down, they're able to do different things. So again, it's not very good at predicting, okay, now that it switches and I take a trade right now, I go long or short and I have a better percentage chance of it being long rather than short or slow. No. But what it does seem to predict is a change in the order flows. And sometimes, based on other things that are going on, informational edges that you have, sometimes that can kind of help you, right? Sometimes you can come in and you can say, oh man, there's a really big imbalance short today. They're gonna blast right through that level. And when they blast through that level, it's gonna accelerate. So I want to keep my short on. So that sort of a thing, right? feel like the lines that I drew there are way too big. That's a little better. This one is so much more responsive. I love it. I tried really, really hard to give you or to find a screen drawing program like this that I could draw with that had an italic nib, which is basically like the nib looks like this, right? So that if you go up and to the right, it's really thin, but then if you go down, it's really thick. Right? So you get like a really thick line that way and a really thin line that way, and you get italic. Because I've been practicing. Here, wait, let me show you. Yeah. Maybe if I hold it this way. Yeah, there we go. Yes, I have pretty good italic handwriting going on there, yeah? Well, let's make it full screen. Not that you guys care that much. Ah, yeah, that does look really good. Look at that X right there. That is a nice looking X. Maybe next time I do a video that has like bullet points instead of like, you know, using effects to show them on the screen, I'll write them down and record writing it. Nerd, I know, right? So I remember being told that I had terrible handwriting in school. And like the funny thing is that now that I'm older, everybody says that they had terrible handwriting. And I was kind of like, well, maybe I just never was able to get good at it. Now, doing that handwriting, I'm writing very slowly, so. But I got a book, and I've been getting more into it. So the thing that's interesting about this is I wrote this one with a fountain pen. And I don't know if you can see. I don't know how I would show you. So what I've discovered is that back in the day, like if you were writing with a quill, you know, you didn't push into the paper. You just kind of dragged it along it, and it would leave the ink behind. With modern pens, you have to push, or with a pencil, you have to push, right? That the friction against the paper is part of what helps deposit the ink. And so if you look at a piece of paper after you've written on it, you can kind of see the letters leave an imprint, right? Kind of push into the paper. And that's pressure on your hand. So your hand can't really relax to do its best work. Then on top of that, you got paper that has all sorts of imperfections in it, and those imperfections can push you off. Right? So you have to be going a certain speed in order to resist that, and then if you're going a certain speed, it's harder to stop exactly where you want, and these are some of the things. Then on top of that, they like stop teaching handwriting like right at the time where your motor skills are like sophisticated enough to get good at handwriting. So everybody's bad at handwriting. So there's this whole world of like books and stuff that teach you more advanced handwriting, like because it used to be that you would go to like higher learning institutions and they would teach you how to write. Because if you were going to be a white collar worker back then, right? Like we're talking like maybe the 40s, okay? A lot of your time was going to be spent writing things all day. So them teaching you good handwriting and to write quickly and stuff was a big deal. Right. And then that stuff kind of died out and it's kind of turned into a hobby for people. So, but anyways, if you use a fountain pen, it just deposits the ink on it. So if you feel the paper, you can actually feel the ink raised against the page. It's a really interesting thing. It's really weird. And it's weird to me to do writing that looks like that. Because my regular handwriting looked nothing like that. And it's cursive too. Cursive, but it is really cursive that's really easy to read. So I'm really happy with it. I think maybe we make a video, I'll do something like that. But it is a nerd thing. Actually, you know what's the weird thing is that it's, you know who likes that, who's into that sort of stuff, is Japanese women. So I've kind of been thinking like, maybe I should keep going with, it's going pretty well so far. And I've been, part of it is in the past when I get into something, and you can only take it so far and you don't have the dedication for it. The only thing that was like really, truly like that was a hobby was like weightlifting. Been pretty dedicated with weightlifting for years and years and years. But kind of the other hobbies, I have a thing and then my interest will shift to something else. And I'm sure that those of you that have been around long enough, you've seen this. I've gone through dozens of things like this, right? But with this, I've been practicing like 30 minutes every night for quite some time now. For a couple of weeks now. It's been working really, really well. So I'm sitting here going like, well, maybe I should try to go deeper into calligraphy. I don't think that I'm super great at it or anything like that. I could like, people would pay me to write copperplate or something like that. But it could be something that I could get deeper into. And then I'm sure that there's like local conventions and groups and things like that you could get into that would be interesting, and people to give you recommendations, and you could try their pens and see which ones you like the best and stuff like that. But then the thing is that it seems to me like it's Asian women that like it. So like, I'm going to go to something like that. I'm going to be the only guy there. I don't know if I can do that. You know what I mean? So it's like a nerd thing, but it's kind of not. But you know what though? What may be part of what's driving this is I kind of despise the invasion of the mainstream into nerd spaces. I do. Like, it's not like I sit there and I'm like, these people, they don't deserve to be able to enjoy the thing that I enjoy. I mean, that's dumb. The gatekeeping that you see sometimes, that's dumb. But, and I like it to be more popular. But the problem is there's negative consequences to popularity that very often ruins the thing that you like about it. I think for a lot of nerds, what they like about it is that it's a place away from everybody else that they can do their thing and enjoy it without having to worry about being judged or insulted by your average person, So like you would get really into Marvel comics, but then the movies came along, it became popular, and now every idiot on Twitter is trying to talk about it. It's not fun to talk about it anymore. Right? So what has happened? Us nerds have started to dive into increasingly more esoteric things. Like basically, you take a lay of the land and you say, what is something that is not popular and becoming less popular? Writing. Nobody wants to write anymore. You got a keyboard. Why would you write? But it actually turns out to be quite a deep rabbit hole. There's quite a lot of and to learn and to do something and get better at something that you've kind of been doing your whole life, but everybody always told you were bad at, and you find out that everybody's bad at it, and now you have handwriting that is above average is a magical thing. It's a magical thing, guys. Find you something like that. Go and find something that has nothing to do with the computer or technology. Is like a craft or an art that is literally dying. And go and learn about it. I wonder if I go into that, if this would be one of those things where, at least in the United States, that a lot of older people are into it. That would also interest me. The more you can get from the older people right now while they're still here, I think, the better. Okay, so with that said, while I've kind of been yapping, the treasuries did move up to our level. I'd say that while they went 1, maybe 2 ticks beyond it, I do think that they're likely to see a little bit of a distribution here at 07.5. So does that make me want to take a short? I don't think so, because the S&P 500 has been selling during this time. Well, I suppose if the S&P 500 turns bullish, we're not quite to the level. So remember, it was 33, 69.33. Oh, you know what? Because we did that, have it on the thing, we should be able to do this. So let's find the file. Documents, NinjaTrader 8. Saved. ES dash. ES volatility levels. There we go. Open. Load data. Oh, I don't have. That's funny. I don't have an alert column on. There we go. Now you see it down at 34. Feel like we're losing more and more space over here, but it's okay. It's worth it. It's an IV projected range, yes. So basically what we're doing is we're looking at the percentage that the at the money options are pricing in for volatility, for like yearly volatility. Then we do some math to convert it into a daily volatility level and calculate what those levels for the day are. And then I tell you what, that whole process of automating it, to get the levels on the chart, it shows you the levels that are the extended session levels and the regular session levels, or based on the open of the extended session and the open of the regular session, essentially. Right? It ended up being a really complicated indicator. I think that the code for it now is well over 1,000 lines. But so it would be hard to do yourself. But if you don't have NinjaTrader and you can't afford my indicator, which I don't know, it's only $200 for a lifetime, you can come over here to bar chart essentially, and you can say, okay, I want to do ZN. What are the options? Right, and then you come in here. Well, it's not going to be ZNH. It's going to be ZNM26. Okay, then you get this implied volatility number. So that's what it's based off of. In fact, you can see where it says 4.27. You know, it's super tiny, but it says 4.27 there, and that's implied volatility 4.27. Yeah. So essentially, I don't know about E-mini. In the treasuries, when we're at that level, that's the place where I often will look for a trade. But in this situation, it seems like it's happening because the E-mini is falling apart. So, I don't know. Let's wait and see what the E-mini does once we get into that 69.35-ish area. Do we start to see some order flows come in the other way? I mean, the thing is that, oh, well, actually, I don't have it on spread. How come I don't? Oh, yeah, I do it. Okay, so it is like pretty much overall through the whole night session. I forget that I have that on my 5-minute chart. You can see they are selling, like the flow in the futures is net sell. But I don't think in this situation I can predict that it's gonna, like if there was nothing else going on, like in a normal day, it get to that level on the downside, and I would be like, oh yeah, like, it's no big deal. Let's reverse it. But given the way that the markets have been over the past week, I don't think that that's a trade I want to make, because we've had some really bad selling lately. Maybe I'm too cautious, because that might end up being a really great reversal trade. We'll see. I wanted to talk earlier. I was saying I was going to talk about something. Can we talk about that now? Even though I know the E-mini is like at a critical point, so let's keep an eye on it. So a story that I see here off of the back of Trump's State of the Union address. Democrat Congresswoman Trump asking lawmakers to stand for Americans over illegals was racist, what she says. So the big moment, the controversial moment that happened during Donald Trump's State of the Union address is he said, stand if you believe that a country's first priority should be its existing citizens and not illegal immigrants, is basically what he said. And of course, the Democrats didn't stand and the Republicans did. And now they're making this big deal like, Democrats don't actually believe that they should help you. Democrats say, no, saying that is racist. Wow. So I'm not here to try and convince you one way or another what it is. I personally kind of sit here and like, wow, that's not racist. There's plenty of Mexicans that are Hispanic people that are American citizens, and I think that their interests should be placed over the interests of illegal immigrants. There are plenty of different racial minorities in the United States, black people, Asian people, and they are citizens, and I think that their needs matter more than the needs of illegal immigrants. And that doesn't mean that like it should be like we should make everything bad for illegal immigrants all the time, but in a situation where the interests of the citizens as opposed to the interests of illegal immigrants, I think that the citizens should be put first. That's my own personal opinion. Okay. So when I hear them say, oh, that's racist to say that, I'm kind of like, well, no, not really. But I kind of get where they're going is that they think their big concern is that Donald Trump is just racist. And so he's pushing that to push racist ideology without, where he thinks that he has an end. Like, oh, well, it's just the illegal immigration. So everybody should be able to agree on that. But then actually it's not. It's racism and you're trying to push the Overton window. That's kind of what they think. But the reason I wanted to point it out is it seems really bizarre to me that Democrats seem to be so completely ignorant of how the position that they're taking appears to everybody else. You know what I mean? Like everybody else. So there's the far left and there's the far right. Okay. But then there's all these people in the middle, which is like most people. And I really think that everybody else I really think that everybody else looks at that and they say, well, why is it that Democrats don't support me? That the government is there for the existing citizens. What's with that? Or let me give you another example. What's the name of this athlete? I don't know how to say her name. It's like Eileen Gao. Is a Olympic athlete. I don't even know what her sport is. So it's not a story that's like super interesting to me, and I haven't watched the Olympics other than the gold medal hockey game. Eileen Gu? Eileen Gu? Okay. Yeah, I guess Gu. Yeah, that's right. She's a free skier. And the story there is she grew up in the United States. I guess she's an American citizen, but China wanted her to compete for them, and they're paying her millions of dollars to do so. So she decided to compete with China against the United States. Okay. Well, obviously a lot of people are going to be upset by that. They're like, hey, you're an American. You should be competing for America, not for China. Well, she made a lot of money from it. I don't know. It's not like you're doing something illegal. Okay, but why do people come down on different sides of that? Well, I think that it comes down to how much a person values loyalty, right? So they've done studies about this, that the two, what would you say, values that liberal people don't seem to value that conservatives do is sanctity and loyalty. And I continue to see this come up where like with Eileen Gao, I saw some like one of my friends on Instagram, they made a post about it. It had like 600 comments on it. Oh my gosh. They're saying, well, like, she made tons of money. Why don't people support her making tons of money? Because you don't sell out your country for money, obviously. I mean, it's a tiny thing, right? You're competing in the Olympics. You compete for this country, you do this country. It's not the end of the world. It really isn't. Okay, it's not like you're giving away nuclear secrets to the Chinese or something, like that. Okay, but I wouldn't do that. Never. There's no amount of money that another country could give me to convince me to compete as an athlete against the United States, because I think loyalty is something that I do value. Right? You need to be able to say, hey, like with your family especially, right? That I can trust my family to do the right thing and what's in the family's best interest, right? Because if you can't, that whole structure kind of falls apart, right? So that's why loyalty is an important value. Obviously, there are some situations where your other moral obligations overrule that, right? Like if your father's a murderer, then you need to turn him in, right? Okay. But we all know that, right? Liberals, they don't value the loyalty as much. And so what's happening here? Well, you have somebody that basically they were not loyal to the United States, and the left is cheering them on. That's what it is. So again, how is it that the left these guys don't see how this appears to everybody else? Because how this appears to everybody else is this girl is a traitor and an athletic traitor, and you're cheering her on. Why is that? Well, it's because they don't value loyalty, but the whole thing, the thing is they've done these studies that conservatives value sanctity and loyalty, and liberals don't really have that value. But the value of loyalty is particularly important to Donald Trump supporters. Like, there seems to be a direct correlation between how much a person values loyalty and how much they support Donald Trump. Because basically, what a lot of these people feel is that not everybody that's here is actually loyal to the United States, right? That's the thing that really irks them. Is like they go and they look at these protests and they see everybody waving Mexican flags, and they're like, well, if you're here in America and you want to live in America, why aren't you being loyal to America? Why are you still waving in the Mexican flag, kind of suggesting that you're more loyal to Mexico? And the reality is, for some of these people, I can just tell you from personal experience, like when I was a missionary talking to a lot of illegal immigrants at the time, and this was back in like 2003, so it was a long time ago, but a lot of them, they really were just here for the money, and they always planned to go back to Mexico. They loved Mexico and the culture in Mexico, and they considered themselves Mexican, and they had no intention of making a life here. They were just here to get the money and then go back, right? And so to that group of Trump supporters, that to them is they're not loyal to America. They're concerned that we are importing lots of people. They're not loyal to America, right? And it's every time that you look, Democrats always seem to take the side, whatever the side that America isn't on. Yeah, like Paul is saying right there. It's kind of wild to me, and I think that the framework that I just gave you there explains why you see that behavior very well. And it's not necessarily that Democrats hate America or they don't think that you should be loyal to your country. Okay? But it's wild to me that they don't see the optics of that. That they don't see that, well, that's the way that everybody else is interpreting what you're doing. How do they not see it? The left really has become like this bubble. They post this stuff and they don't, man. And the thing, I think one of the things that really plays into it is the social media. Like I said, I saw one person, they were really supporting Eileen Go, and there was like 600 comments on it. So to them, that's probably like, yes, I did the thing, like standing up for this woman, and that's a good thing, and that's my brand, and people like that, and social media rewards me for it, so I should do more of it, right? And meanwhile, I'm sitting here thinking like about like all of the people that are like, holy crap. That away from me. Well, I tell you what, man. I don't think I've seen it. So in the treasuries, they tend to respect these volatility levels really, really hard. It's usually like, I can't tell if it's going to be the extended session or the regular session one. There's got to be some rule or framework that I don't understand that could better do it. Explain to you which one it's going to be. But okay, so we came to the ES, we bounced off of it pretty hard. But in the equity indexes, things tend to be a lot more fuzzy. And my experience on this one is that they're good guides, but you can't really take a hard trade on it. But so far, they have respected that level extremely well. That's almost magical. Like one of those scenarios that I kind of put out just as an example, not trying to predict it, is playing out. We moved down to that extended session range. If you think, this is nothing, in the end we're going to buy because NVIDIA is good and all that sort of stuff, then here's where you take the long for sure. I'm not convinced that I'm still concerned about a deeper sell-off still. Especially since we got this weak seasonals. You always got to be careful when you're going against seasonals. Yeah. Okay, have you ever looked into the market on open or market on closing? Oh yes, absolutely. So, well, the market on open one isn't as big of a deal, but like the market on close is a huge deal. Now the thing is that like the guys on the trading floor and all of that, they kind of work this stuff out. So it's really hard to get like an outright advantage on that. But there was a period during COVID when the floor was closed when this stuff kind of provided huge advantage. So at the very least, if you're trading equity indexes, I think that that's a data point that you want to be aware of. If you're using Financial Juice, they talk about it. In fact, I wonder if I refresh here if it'll show us the... Nah, it doesn't. I relaunch that. When it opens, there's this little thing that shows you the different indexes and the imbalance. The market on open imbalance. And same for the close. So I wonder if this is another one of those buy the rumor, sell the news sorts of things, and that maybe Nvidia's getting clobbered here. Because the selling does look extreme. Oh, well, yeah, we are well below yesterday's lows. That's interesting. So going back to this story over here, this right here. Will Anthropic's clash with Hegseth trigger historic software short squeeze? So I think their implication here is the government's unhappy, AI isn't going to do as well, and therefore all of the software stocks will revert back and it'd be a short squeeze. And I guess you're seeing the first signs of that today, even though I don't really think that should be like a huge deal. Too long didn't read. Investors are unprecedentedly short in software stocks due in large part to the threat of Anthropic's Cloud Code disrupting the entire software as a service space, questioning the terminal values for all these stocks. Anthropic is currently battling Pete Hegseth's Department of War over guardrails, raid wokeness, and virtue signaling. If Anthropic does not bend the knee to enabling war AI, missing out on that sweet military contract, then there is fear that other enterprise clients will drop it. Do they really want to be integrating a government blacklisted technology into their systems, leaving developers questioning its use case as a disruptor, prompting the mass shorts in the SPAS space to cover? Yeah. So for that, I don't think that makes sense. It's like, if you don't get a contract, I don't think that means that you're blacklisted. It just means that you go over to OpenAI and you say, hey, Sam. Right? Hopefully you can't hear the kids turn on the TV over there. World Economic Forum boss Borge Brund quits as Epstein fallout deepens. So I do wonder, a story that Zero Hedge has this up. Yeah, I always, because Zero Hedge has some serious bias, right? But they're saying, oh, actually, there is more evidence. And Epstein kind of knew that the raid was coming and hid it. And they know that there are these storage units or whatever, and the authorities never went after them. Okay, sounds a little bit too good to be true. But if it is true, and they dig into it and they find more stuff, oh mama. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Okay, well, so we're now through those levels, right? They bounced off of it really hard at first, but they're selling through. So one way of reading this is it's probably too early. Like, we're still just kind of ranging around in that area. Let's see what happened. But we did get a good amount of selling off of that impulse too. Okay. You come over here. Right. Good amount of selling off that impulse. Okay. But still, maybe it's too early to tell. But if the selling is persistent, then that means that we really got something with legs, right? That's what it means. What it means is we're outperforming the implied volatility. Isn't it nice, guys? Like, this is normally, we would be shutting everything down. And now we can sit and we can talk about immigration for another hour if you want to. So the other thing that kind of is, I think, interesting to watch is the left's reaction to the men's hockey team. So what happened was, yeah, well, I can work from home today is what it is. So we get to stick around for an hour. After the hockey team won, they were hanging out with the CIA director, or I don't know who it was, one of the people in Trump's cabinet, because he was there. So then they called Trump, and Trump had a call with them, and he made a joke that like, oh, I'll have you guys over, but I have to have the women's team over too. And like when I hear it, I read like, I know that you guys would like to just have the moment to yourselves, but you have to share it with somebody else, right? But the left reads it as, women's sports are dumb, and I wish that I didn't have to acknowledge women's sports too, but we do, or else they'll impeach me. This is the way that they read it. Okay, so they're super, super upset. But the whole thing is like, they're not supposed to go to the White House. You're supposed to say, no, Donald Trump is a fascist. I'm not going to go there. Blah, 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 blah. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. If Kamala Harris was president, or no, if Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a vowed Democratic socialist, was president, and I was invited to the White House, I would go without question. Doesn't matter who it is. But the left has now set up this standard that you go to the White House, you're a bad person. Well, some of those guys probably are Trump supporters, and so they don't like them because they're Trump supporters. But they can't just be like, oh, well, I don't like their politics. No, it has to be like, they're so chauvinist and all of these, like they're projecting all of this stuff onto these hockey players is just absolutely bonkers to me. I don't know, one of the points that Trump said in his Statement of the Union speech is like, the Democrats are crazy. And I don't like that we're saying that sort of thing, because you need to have a strong Democrat Party. Like, having both sides of the coin is an important part of having a functioning country. But I really do think that the Democrat Party is crazy right now. And I really want them to get over it so that we can get back to, like real politics that will actually push the country forward, And I just can't understand how they can be so like, what is the word? They're not aware of themselves. There's a word for it. I don't know why my mind's going blank. Aware, that's the word I'm looking for. There's like a complete lack of self-awareness among the left. What is with that? You get what I'm saying? Why does it seem like the left has become completely void of any kind of self-awareness? It's so crazy to me. Is it really just social media? I think I've said for a long, long time, yeah, well, social media is bad for you. Look, I've been doing it forever. I react to these sorts of things differently. But I'm starting to shift now. Like, I'm starting to realize now, like, the effect that it has is even more profound than we realize. That, like, pulling open your phone and reading about controversial issue this or controversial issue that just before you go to bed, like, it affects the quality of your sleep, it changes all of your hormones, it shifts things in a way that I don't think we realize. So I've kind of been shifting to, okay, well, obviously here we make money understanding how different people in the United States think is pretty central to what we do. Okay. So kind of understanding how Democrats come down on different issues and perhaps why could potentially help us predict how the market's going to react to different pieces of news, right? But in the evening, you know, I would constantly be scrolling trying to see if I could catch any other kind of new stuff. And what I do now, well, and then at work, you know, sometimes I've been in times at work where there's just not a lot going on, and so I spend a lot of time researching stocks and things like that. But now it is all crammed into short periods, right? I do it in the morning while I'm getting ready, come in here. I do it like right when I get to work and right before I leave. I do it around lunch, but then and I'll do it like before dinner. But then after dinner, I am starting to switch to no screen. Definitely 90 minutes before bedtime, no screen. That's why I'm doing writing stuff. Practicing handwriting instead. And I think that that's going to evolve into journaling, I guess, except for that I don't know what I'm going to journal about. But I'm sure that I'll have plenty of things to say. Because it really does... It's just like affecting the entire baseline, right? And that must be what's going on. Is that these people that they're probably more so than other people completely addicted to social media. I watched this video the other day. I don't remember the name of the lady. It was basically a lady that was like relationships expert. And her assertion was that women are more addicted to social media than men. That there's a very serious problem in relationships where the wife consistently chooses to browse on her phone rather than interact with her husband. This is like a way bigger problem than we realize, isn't it? Or like another thing I watched was I don't know why I started watching this, because it's usually not a subject that interests me that much, but what's this guy named like Healthy Gamer GG or something like that? It was like this Indian psychiatrist guy that has become popular on Twitch. You know who I'm talking about? And he was talking about how hard it is for men to date now, right? And I think he was kind of trying to get into like, well, like things have changed and you have to change and your strategies and stuff have to change as a result. I didn't finish watching the video. I kind of think like, oh, well, I don't know if that's a good answer, because we kind of have a little bit of control over how it is, right? And the way that it is right now, it's kind of like if you look good, then you get all of the everything because of the way that Tinder works. And if you're not, then you get nothing. And I don't think that that's necessarily a good thing for society, right? So I was a little frustrated by that. But then he's talking about it and he's saying like, but it's not just like there's a change. Like this is like survival of the fittest, and like it could actually be a mass extinction event. Oh, so you're saying that because of social media, there's going to be a certain group of people that just never reproduce, and those bloodlines are just going to die out. And then he was saying, like, is there something in there that, like, your biology knows and starts to freak out? Oh, I think that there is. I mean, isn't there this whole thing that, like, with women, when they get to a certain age, they start to get the baby itch, for instance, because the body knows that, like, they're running out of fertile years? I just that whole thing is scary to me, looking back on it. Do you guys, because this was not very long ago, man. This seems like it was only like 2 months ago. When was it that they released? Was it ChatGPT 3.5 or something like that, right? And the ChatGPT that they had before that was the one that, like, everybody liked and people were turning it into their boyfriend and stuff. And then for the next versions, they basically trained that out of it. Man, because I was starting to get this stuff on Reddit there was multiple subreddits about this subject, people that claimed to have some sort of a romantic partner with their AIs, and OpenAI saw it happening, made a change, and completely killed it. Like, they completely killed it. So it really was as simple as flipping a switch and completely changing the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. I don't know how many people were actually into that sort of a thing, but, like, oh man. And I will tell you, because I read that subreddit a lot. I was really fascinated by it. Part of it was because these people seemed to have a lot of tricks for the AI, how to get the AI to go into certain modes and things like that I find useful. But I'll tell you, most of them were women. Absolutely. Most of them were women. They were women. They were using the AI instead of going and getting a boyfriend. And those were just, like, the first adopters. Do you know that, like, when you look at how many people use AI daily, that it's still, like, only 5%? So, like, AI is really, really early still. And 20 years from now, will we get to the point where everybody uses AI daily? I think so. And will we get to the point where everybody has an AI friend? I think so. And so just looking at the way that happened with all of these people getting addicted to the AI and developing romantic relationships with it is scary. What does that tell us? We prefer talking to AI than we do to each other. That has scary, scary, scary consequences for society, doesn't it? And yeah, like OpenAI, they didn't like what they were seeing and they stepped in and they stopped it. But you know what? It's like somebody else is going to go and make it eventually. It's like the rabbits, they go and they make the super sexy rabbit, and the sexy rabbit is so sexy that some rabbits become enamored with it and don't reproduce, and that's how they kill the rabbit population. It's going to be the same thing, man. It's going to be the same thing. And how do you prepare? If you're a parent, how do you prepare your kids to not fall into that trap? Because I feel like maybe it's too late for my kids, because they're all teenagers. They're into that mode where you just get, like, they treat you like you're an idiot. Like, okay, like 10 years from now, you're going to feel stupid. But, man, there's nothing that you can say that's going to stop these people. The forces are just so strong. A large portion of people are going to fall victim to it. If I was younger, would I have fallen victim to it? Maybe. Who knows? Yeah, it is an extinction event. And I've been thinking about it the past day, and it kind of, the whole thought kind of bothers me. Okay, so where are we at? Well, the equities are well past regular session to, I forget the word that we use. It's not omega. Why do I want to use omega? Sigma. We're now at regular session -2 sigma. So now we're really, really outperforming volatility. So I guess I don't even know if I can really describe to you how I come to that conclusion, but remember just saying, well, here's a situation where based just purely on the volatility, this is what you would do. But in this situation, I wouldn't do that because, you know, the way the market's been recently and all that. But like, I don't know if I can really fully explain it unless you've been here with us watching the market every day to like know what I'm talking about, you know? This is a pretty extended downturn. I wonder, let's come over here. So of course it's beaten out like where we were from yesterday's move, but where is it in the larger scheme of things? It's just pushing us back into this range, right? If we were getting down there, then that'd be a big thing. But how bad of a down day is today going to be? Because if you look at some of these down days, those are bad. Like that would put us somewhere down into here, like a 1.5%, 2%. Wait, well, let's see. Come minimize that. We come here at ES negative 1.29, and we could maybe get like more of a 1.5 to 2% day. It's possible. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not too bothered by the market selling off because I still think we're going to be range bound for like maybe until the end of the summer. There's always a chance that it's just going to turn into a full-on recession. Which I don't know, when you kind of think about the AI sort of thing, like, because I really don't think that AI like replaces the economy. People will still make money. Maybe it won't be based on labor, but there's still going to have to be, you know, supply and demand and all of these sorts of things. But if people think that that's what's going to be the thing, right? Then that could certainly on its own create a recession. But maybe a recession is the best thing to slow it down so that, you know, we can kind of adjust and start to come to, okay, but it's not the end of the world, actually. Yeah. Oh, I'm seeing some iceberging at extended session +2 sigma in the treasury. And it's on almost 40K. So when I see 40K net change in cumulative delta in the 10-year treasury, and I've kind of sat on the sidelines the whole time, it kind of makes me feel like, ugh, I should have seen this coming. But I really don't think that I had a trade here. I really don't. Because we've been here the whole way and at several points and still was kind of like, nah, I don't think I know which way it's going to go. It's got to be very much NVIDIA driven too, right? I wonder, well, let's poke around and just see what people are saying. NVIDIA stock sinks despite better than expected results. NVIDIA's Wong says markets got it wrong on AI threat to software companies. I think that's the case. eBay laying off about 800 roles or 6% of its workforce. Yeah, because eBay sucks now. They let the cheese take over and now it sucks. Oh well. Burry says NVIDIA's purchase commitment parallel to Cisco at the .com bubble top. World's largest sovereign wealth fund is using AI for ethical investment checks. That's cool, actually. I think that would be a great use of AI. Tech is now almost as cheap as consumer staples. Tech is really as cheap. Oh, here's something relevant to my interests. MP Materials selects Texas for rare earth magnet manufacturing site. Ooh. That dollar is getting up there. I'm kind of looking at this as being like, okay, is there a place where like all of the things align? But I don't think that there is, because we are so far beyond the implied volatility levels for the S&P 500 right now at this point that. But I think we should still pay attention that the dollar is coming to here. So once we get past that level, it should resize to show us the next one in. That's only the first level in the dollar. I've lost track of where I'm at. That's totally supported by evolutionary mechanisms. Oh, I hope that you're not like 10 minutes behind and you're responding to something I said 10 minutes ago about like, this is a mass extinction event. Oh, by the way, oil is up too. Kind of didn't point that out, but oil is up pretty big too. Oil's up. I'm seeing gold and silver kind of. Well, I don't have silver up here, but it looks like gold is down. Silver is down 4.45%. Bitcoin's down a little bit. Not like huge. Pull up Bitcoin here and see if they give up yesterday's gains in Bitcoin. It's also the fact that people have too many options on online dating. Well, yeah, no, it is. You're being shown the hottest person, especially for women. Like, I guess part of the argument that I'm making here is that women are more affected by this than men are. And we as a society, you know, I hate saying this sort of thing because it's like, I think it's really important and it needs to be said, but I know that a lot of people aren't going to like it, that aren't going to want to hear it, right? But but women are influenced by these things more than men are. And we in society are very comfortable with saying this is the things that men do and that we've got to worry about. Like that, you know, if you have a man and he's out of the house all of the time and he's good looking, there's, you know, they might be disloyal. That's the thing. There are some men that it almost seems to me like disloyalty is built into their blood. And if you're married to a man like that, you got to be on your toes for it. Wouldn't say don't marry that person, but this would be something you got to be aware of, right? If like I was saying, like CEO is gonna CEO, right? When you get these guys and they get into the C-suite, it's pretty common. It's pretty common for them to get a little too far into alcohol and or drugs. It's really common for them to cheat or to do something sexual, I would call sexually immoral, right? Okay, that's just the way that it is, right? This is just the way that it is with women and things like social media, and the sooner we acknowledge it, the better, because we are not preparing women to be able to deal with these things. And we have given women a lot of power in our society, and I think that they should have it. I think that it's a good thing to have, you know, more people involved in the decision-making process so that the decisions that are made are in line with a greater number of people's interests. But we've got to prepare them to do that, and I don't think that we have. Oh, yeah. So we'll still be here for 30 minutes. Just watch this spectacular crash. It's a pretty strong down move. Okay, so they're saying in oil that there was a storage draw. Oh, so that's why oil is coming back so hard. Gotcha. Man, okay, so when I come over here and I look at this, like, yeah, NVIDIA took it on the nose, but when the S&P really started selling off the last 30 minutes, that was, you know, like, NVIDIA was almost flat, so it was unrelated to NVIDIA. The larger market falling apart, maybe. And I'm just going to come in. I don't want to show all of these stocks. But I am seeing a short squeeze here. Yeah. What else were we talking about today? Yeah. I think this might be a deleveraging. Hold on, the dog is really freaking out. I don't know what the deal was, but she was crying there for a second. And I come over, she just looks at me like normal dog. Does anybody else choose to be ignorant about politics to be happy? No, but maybe I would be happier if I didn't pay attention to politics. I don't know. What would I, this is always the big question, is like, what would I be filling my life with if I wasn't filling it with the stock market and politics? I think I would be really bored. You'd be watching Ancient Aliens talking about how it's only a matter of time before the government releases the info. Oh man, what was the latest thing on the? Oh yeah, Donald Trump was gonna force the release, and then all of the UFO influencers were coming out and saying like that they're fighting against it. Yeah, it's I don't, so, I think the thing is that I am a skeptic by nature, right? Like I'm not skeptical about things because, you know, I'm really smart and I've figured it out, or maybe I'm really experienced and I've figured out over time that these sorts of things. No, I'm telling you, like, it's in my DNA to be for everything. Okay, but can we actually prove that? So, because I can remember being really young. Like, this is the thing that wilds me out about, like, the last 10 years with Donald Trump and all of this. Because they've definitely gone into conspiracy theory territory. And we've seen a lot of things that were, like, conspiracy theories come true, right? Well, when I was a kid, I remember the conspiracy theories being, like, you know, the government actually caused 9/11 to happen, and it was the left that was really interested in UFOs, and I remember looking up all sorts of stuff and, you know, doubting all of that before too. I mean, the UFO interest is kind of a more recent one, because not that I necessarily think that there are, like, confirmed I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing. I don't believe that the US government has, like, retrieved a UFO or retrieved alien biotics and studied them and kept all of that from us. That seems fantastic. I'm very, very skeptical of that. Okay? But I think probably there are aliens, and I think probably there are aliens that have visited Earth and have caused odd incidents. But the thing that interested me about it wasn't that. It was that all of a sudden the government was talking about it. Like, what the heck? And the government showing these incidents that happened that are extremely puzzling. And there is something there. Like the Nimitz incident in particular, like, something happens. Something quite historically important, I think. Maybe it is U.S. technology, but the U.S. having that kind of technology is a significant thing. Right? It's kind of like, wow, if there was a real war, like a World War II style war where we were pulling out all the stops, the U.S. has some crazy technology. They would probably just flatten anybody. Talked about it before. An excess of entertainment leads to conspiracy. No. People, so many stories, books, movies, all with a villain or purpose. None of that in real life. Well, okay. So what before the 1900s, let's say, what were the conspiracies that people talked about? I don't know. So the thing that I think is most consistent across the research that I've seen is that conspiracy theories are mostly a coping mechanism for people that feel that they have no power. That is by and large the thing. I tell you, if you just take that one thing and you watch the internet, it will explain so many things, and you'll be able to predict the way that different parties are going to go and things like that so much better. Okay, when Donald Trump got elected the second time, the Democrat Party went into full-on conspiracy theory mode, which is why all of a sudden then they were interested in the Epstein files. They believe every crazy little theory that comes along about Donald Trump. It's hilarious. They spent this whole, like, literally a decade freaking out about misinformation on the internet, and we need to do something about misinformation. And then as soon as they were the ones that were out of power, they went full tilt with the conspiracy theories. Why is that? Because conspiracy theories are primarily a coping mechanism for people that feel like they don't have power. Just when you hear people talking about that, I almost feel nervous talking about this because, like, people that know me, maybe they'll be watching this and they'll be like, oh, so when I was talking about that, this is what Seth is thinking. Yeah, it is. I'm thinking, okay, they feel like they don't have power because they're interested in the conspiracy theories around this thing. That's what it means. It also gets me into this other thing, which is, I'm not an expert in this. I feel like maybe this is one of the subjects that I need to dive into next, is like attitudes and behaviors that are common in the middle class that prevent them from being able to achieve higher and move into the upper middle class or upper class. Because I definitely see people will talk about things and I can't explain it. I can't sit down and say, well, you believe this, and that's because you were raised this way, and these are the things that you are going to do and not do that, because of that belief, that are going to prevent you from being more successful in life. Okay? But when I hear them talk about these sorts of things, like, my own training goes off. Like, I think primarily the things that I learned at Goldman Sachs that just kind of has me like, these are the sorts of attitudes that are going to keep you here. And I, especially on the internet, I see this stuff every day. And conspiracy theories is one of them, to be honest with you, is feeling like you don't have power. Well, maybe it's happening because you don't have power. But then the thought that you don't have power and you don't have any viable avenue to getting power, that thought alone holds you back. I know it does. I can't. I mean, I guess the theoretical thing behind it is that, thoughts become actions. And so if you can't even imagine that you would ever have power or be more successful in the future, then you're never going to do the things to make that happen. Like, self-belief is a powerful thing, but to me, it's still just kind of like intuition, theoretical. I don't exactly understand how that mechanism works. I just know that it's a thing, right? Maybe I should study it. What are the things that I wasn't taught, that I don't know about, that hold you back? Treasuries came back a good amount, so it looks like that the E-mini did find maybe a little bit of a floor. Was well beyond the volatility, but it is a common thing for them to like bust out and then come back to that level. I don't know if that necessarily means you want to buy it here. I don't know how that works in the E-mini. In the treasuries, when you get something like that, often what happens is they just distribute in that range, and so it's like, it's done. Like, there's no more reason to trade anymore today. But the E-mini is a different beast altogether, so I don't know what you do with that one. I suppose maybe what you do in the E-mini is you buy the dip on the hopes that the shorts close by the end of the day, and there's market on close buys that push us back up. That there does tend to be like that late day bounce, right? Although I don't have enough information about stats and so forth on that to say whether that's a trade worth taking. There's 6 sides to get into any conspiracy. Lots of things lead to it. Okay. This word that you say is an excess of entertainment. Because let's ask ChatGPT a question here. Okay. If I didn't spend so much of my time and interest in financial markets, politics, and computers, what do you think I would spend my energy on based on what you know about me from past conversations? I know I was more interested in the these are the things that interest me, and that's what I spend all my time with, and sometimes you kind of have to ask yourself, well, is it actually a good thing for you? Like, yeah, there's negative impacts from following politics. There is. And I don't think that following the market in and of itself is a bad thing, but you're constantly plugged in, and that's a bad thing. And day trading tends to lose you money, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend day trading. It's not very likely to be a profitable thing for you. That doesn't mean that people shouldn't do it, but you're probably going to have other things driving you, right? So maybe you shouldn't do it. But then it was like, yeah, but if I ever decided it was just too much for me, what would I do? I don't know what I would fill that with. Yeah, but I don't know that's not something that you can just I guess you have to read the newspaper still, huh? Okay, but like, what if this was the 1800s or earlier? I don't think ChatGPT got the question. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, he would be a merchant. There you go. Pamphleteer. Oh, okay. Keeping detailed journals of observations. Studying history. Maybe that is what it would be, as I would be a history buff. I think that's probably correct. Pattern hunting, but with quills instead of charts. Yeah. I really do think, I know this is a weird thing to think about yourself, but like some people, they have certain genetic advantages. You know, like in weightlifting, and if you want to be like a world champ, like an Olympic level athlete in weightlifting, you really have to be a genetic freak. In particular, you have to have a body that produces a lot of fast twitch muscle fiber compared to slow twitch muscle fiber. That's why, like, and that's true of any power sport. That's why you start to see a lot of like Samoans and those kinds of ethnicities do really well in football and rugby and stuff. It's because they, for whatever reason, have a lot of that fast twitch muscle fiber. Okay, so I'm never going to be a world level. If I had gotten into weightlifting when I was 3, I probably wouldn't be an Olympian, because I just don't have the body for it. But it does seem to me like my body is geared more towards sitting inside all day and reading and writing, essentially. Like what would have in the past been more of an aristocrat job and has now turned into like white collar work and now computer stuff. Everything about me is well suited to it. I can sit at a computer all day and not get fat, as long as I'm not like crazy overeating or anything. I stay curious, and I'm always trying to find the boundaries of things and push them into ways that other people haven't done. Those are all kind of traits that I don't think are common in the population that really help you in those kinds of endeavors. You know? So that's why I say some people, their bodies were built to play football, and some people's bodies were built to read and write all day. As the other thing is my hands, I have the dainty little lady fingers, but that is good for things like typing and writing, maybe playing the piano, things like that, doing intricate work with your hands. Not that I don't have a steady hand. I don't know if I can. My hand wobbles quite a bit. I don't think that I would be a good surgeon. Okay. How does excess of entertainment lead to conspiracy theories, and what are other factors that increase the chances of someone being interested in, how did I misspell that? Interested in conspiracy theories based on the based on the peer-reviewed research. I don't think it will trade the 60s today. Well, it does look like they've found at least a temporary low. This is a situation where I really think trying to call the low of the day is a fool's game, because we're outperforming volatility, and I don't really know why. There seems to be some sort of deleveraging going on, and so I really can't predict how much selling will come through. There could totally be another wave. But we have found at least a temporary floor, and hopefully that's the low of the day, and then the rest of the day is just a recovery. And that happens a lot, so that is a very strong possibility, and that's, if I was forced to place a bet, that's probably the bet that I would put. But I just know the range of possibilities and the situation enough to know that I'm not going to be able to predict that very well. You know, like I might be able to say 7 out of 10 times it goes up, but what is it going to do in this case? And you can't say, well, if 7 out of 10 times it goes up, then I should buy it here, because you can only do that if you're actually going to take that trade every time that happens, and that happens enough. But we're talking about a niche scenario, so you can't, that won't work. He's still live. Yeah, because on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we will be streaming until 11 o'clock Eastern time. So now is about the time for me to get off and pull the laptop out and start doing the day job. We get to work from home. That means that instead of driving to work, the time that I would have spent driving to work, I get to stream. I don't know if it helps the stream out too much. It looks like the viewership numbers were about the same as they usually are. Yeah. It's about the same that they always are, but that's okay. Being around longer does provide more opportunities to find us and could help the channel in the long run. You just need a mouse script and to continue the stream. But there are a lot of... I have been picking up so many different things, and I want to do it. I like my job. If AI takes over and they don't pay people to do computer stuff, like, part of the reason why I'm talking about this stuff is, like, if AI takes over and we don't do computer stuff anymore, what am I going to do with my life? Like, seriously, I don't. It actually makes me feel a little panicked, to be honest, because ever since my memory begins, like when I was 3 years old, I remember being obsessed with computers. That's all I've ever wanted to do. I love sitting in front of a computer and solving problems. Doesn't matter what kind of a problem it is. That's why even some of the things that a lot of people, they're not interested in, like the infrastructure and the DevOps stuff, I'm still really, really into it. And I just happen to kind of be around at the right places in the right time to build up experience that's quite rare, and you get paid well for that. That's why I do it. But, you know, I could be doing developing, whatever it is, as long as it involves, you know, solving deep problems with a computer. And if all of a sudden it's just AI, well, okay, if I'm one of the people that is talking to the AI to help us solve problems, then I'm okay with that. I'm okay with talking to an AI all day. But if a corporation can say, no, we don't need anybody, it's just the CEO and an army of AIs, and there aren't any jobs in that arena, and in order to get like a job in the economy, you have to be like doing physical labor. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Because why? Because I was built to sit inside all day and stare at a computer, not to go and fix wires or build houses or whatever it's gonna be. Although at that point, if AI is really able to automate most white collar work, then that means that robotics will be able to replace all blue collar work, and then there really will be no work. And then what are people going to do? Well, I say in that world that we will still have an economy. It will just move into an economy that's not based on labor. You're going to make money based on something else, like maybe your participation in certain things, right? They still need to have your incentive to participate in an economy. So maybe companies will pay you just to be a part of their company and have a certain culture. And there's going to be things that you're going to do every day and you're going to be work, but it's not actually going to be anything that contributes to the bottom line or is necessary. It's just for people to have jobs. I think that's actually a very likely future. But nobody seems to talk about, but whatever. I digress. Is that free offer? Yeah, probably is. Probably a free month of ChatGPT. So my issue is I would like to pay for one of the large language models, but at work I get Claude and that's everything that I need for my own for work. And I'm not doing enough of my stuff at home to necessarily justify paying for an AI. But then even if I did, which one should I get? Because Claude's definitely better with coding. OpenAI was better at certain things, but it kind of feels like it's gone downhill. I kind of think that Google is probably the one that's going to win in the end. And it just kind of leaves me like I just can't seem to get myself to commit to a platform for AI. So I never do it. Well, anyways, we asked it a question. What was it? There is peer-reviewed evidence for this mechanism. Conspiracy theories are cognitive, rewarding stories. A series of experiments with the British Journal of Psychology found that conspiracy narratives are judged as more entertaining, emotionally intense, and attention-grabbing than non-conspiratorial explanations. Those entertainment appraisals mediated belief, meaning people were more likely to accept the theory partly because it was engaging. Okay. I think that's a better explanation. That must be what you were talking about, Apol. And that's definitely a thing that that could help us, right? Well, if you already have a lot of entertainment around, then for something to really stand out, it really has to be extra entertaining. And because conspiracy theories are extra entertaining, that tends to draw people into it. That makes a lot of sense to me. And that also makes a lot, because a lot of the times when like a stock is going down, and we could look at what are all of the different factors for what will impact a stock. And the things that I find people online in particular will tend to talk about are not necessarily, I mean, like financial reporters like Zero Hedge and CNBC, I think that they have decent explanations, but like if you just go on Reddit, you know, the stuff that they focus on is usually like completely irrelevant. And maybe part of it is because those things are more entertaining, and so that's why they believe them. Sensation-seeking personality amplifies the effect. And then it talks about psychological traits, social factors. Yeah, okay. It's interesting. Okay. Anyways, that's it. I should get going. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow, Friday. I don't know if we really got anything too interesting going tomorrow, but then it's the end of the month. So I guess tomorrow will be a big rebalancing day for end of month. And well, not end of quarter, but end of month flows. Tomorrow for sure, which will make this decline in the S&P 500 all the more interesting, won't it? So I'll see you guys then. In the meantime, stay excellent.